Alright everybody, I want to make this video basically to try to be helpful, okay? To try to get some tips out there, some ideas for people to try with their legends. Obviously there's a lot of conspiracy out there, people thinking that their legends are junk, that they're not working properly, that there's definitely something wrong with them. Now I'm not saying that you don't have an issue. It's an electronic piece of equipment. Anything can happen, there can be issues. But what I see from myself, from others, from different clips and videos that I see, a lot of little issues and bigger issues where it definitely is or can be user error, okay? And it's not necessarily the way, you are using the machine, but it can be. But a lot of it could be the way that it was downloaded. Maybe something wasn't done right. Now, my suggestion to you, or anyone who's having any issues, or think their machine isn't performing properly, I would highly recommend to do the download again, okay? Update your software, make sure your drivers are updated properly on your PC, and do the update again to your Nokta Legend. Just as a safety precaution, it is a Bluetooth machine, okay? I would just shut the Bluetooth off on your phone, make sure no other nearby devices are on that could interrupt any type of signal. And I don't think that that would be an issue, but like I said, it's just a suggestion, a recommendation to try to alleviate anything that could be an issue for you updating your machine. And of course, when you're done with the update, make sure you do a hard reset on your machine. It is necessary. You need to do this. When you do this, it will reset any user profiles you have saved. So if there's something specific you have saved that you want to keep, by all means, write it down, and then you can reset it after. But if your user profiles are not working that you have, maybe you're better off updating and forgetting about those starting at scratch. I do it pretty basic on my Legend. Again, also it's going to be different maybe for people depending on your soil conditions, depending on where you're hunting. I have a lot of highly mineralized soil here in Massachusetts where I am. I hunt a lot of iron patches, old home sites, big farm fields that are full of iron. I get over spots that you can't swing sometimes without constantly hearing the iron. I like to hear the iron personally, so I always have my iron on a little bit. One thing I do love about the Nokta Legend is that the iron tone it has is kind of subtle. It's not really loud like other machines I've had in the past, so it's just enough to know, okay, there's iron in the ground, and it helps to differentiate the iron tones with good tones in the ground. I always recommend, just as a base setting for sensitivity, a lot of people like to run the machine really hot and all the way up, crank the sensitivity up. I recommend to not do that. Any machine is going to perform slightly under its potential, I'll say, if you're running it at full sensitivity, okay? The Legend is a hot machine as it is. The Nokta Simplex is a hot machine as it is. So I never, ever run full sensitivity. And the way I explain it to many people, and I'll explain it here right now, is just like a regular radio. You have your speakers in your car, you have a radio, say the volume went to 30, and you turn the volume up, and it gets the volume 24, 25, and it sounds good, it's smooth, it's loud, everything's wonderful, you're cruising down the road listening to great music. Another song comes on, you're like, wow, I really like this song, I'm cranking it all the way up. Well, now you get distortion. The speakers aren't smooth anymore. The bass sounds flat. Same thing with your machine. If you run your sensitivity way too high, you're going to get false signals from time to time. If there's EMI around, it's going to make it worse. You have to drop the signal. There's a lot of instances. If you have highly mineralized soil, the hotter you run, the higher your sensitivity is, the more your machine is going to react to that. It may not be as smooth as you want it to be. So keep those things in mind, please, when doing this. Again, I am trying to help out anyone that I possibly can here that may think you're having an issue with your machine, to try to finely tune it, to try to get rid of any issues you have. Now, EMI, there's nothing you can do about that with almost any machine. And any multi-frequency machine is going to be affected by EMI. I have one permission that is a huge, wonderful permission. I dug my oldest coin at, and I dig stuff there all the time. I was just there the other day, as a matter of fact, and I have a friend that was with me that runs a different machine that he was getting EMI as well. Okay, so it's not just the Legend, it's not just his machine, it's not just somebody else's machine. That area is full of EMI, and it will affect your machine as far as VDI and tone. Sometimes you need to really pay attention to certain tones, really swing the machine in a way that you're really smooth with the machine, and when you hear a tone, kind of try to pinpoint the machine, not with the pinpoint, function on it, but the way you move it, walk around your target, try to pinpoint that target. It will find it. Even in EMI, I found tons of great stuff where this machine's been chatter from EMI, okay? It doesn't stop me, and it shouldn't stop you either. I know it can be an annoyance, but again, it's not just the Legend. It's any multi-frequency machine EMI will affect. And in that area, if I put this as single frequency, it's almost no chatter at all, very quiet. Obviously, we all like to use the simultaneous frequency for certain reasons. It is known to be much better by the way it works, the way that the simultaneous frequency works in the ground with our conductors and the items we're looking for. Single frequency is a little different, but in some instances, single frequency works better. So I'm going to show you where I have my settings on the Legend probably 90 to 95% of the time, and I tweak it a little bit here and there, depending on where I'm hunting, depending on the situation. If I'm in iron, if I'm in really clean ground, which is kind of rare for me, and we'll go from there and give you some suggestions that you can try. All right, so we're going to turn on the machine here. Of course, as you can tell, I'm in my house, okay? So sometimes you get some chatter in the house, EMI, that sort of thing. Although it may not be that bad. See, I have version 111. Loading it up. All right. Now, this is my main screen. I am in field mode. That's where I run usually most of the time. I am in ground discrimination here. I am in multi 3. That's where I usually run it at. Multi 3, 90% of the time. I know it's said that it's typically used for wetter grounds, right? If you're dry ground, you're in multi 1. Wet ground, you're in multi 3. Use that to your discretion. That's the best thing I can say. Maybe multi 1 is going to be good for you where you are. Maybe multi 3 is going to be good for you. Play with them a little bit. Change them if you think you're having an issue. Just change it. It's, something very easy to do that you can do on the fly at any time. There's single frequency. All the frequencies in single. You can go to multi 1, multi 2, multi 3. Okay. Put that on the all metal. A lot of people like all metal. I've used all metal in the past. I don't typically use it with the Legend. I like to have it in ground just because of how it reacts in the soil around me and the types of terrains I'm in. This is what works really good for me. Again, you can change that to your liking. That's about as most as I like to notch out too. You know, I don't want to be in here where I'm notching that out. Sometimes I like to dig those little targets, okay? And so I keep it here anyhow. Now, sensitivity, you could see I'm on 24. That's usually where I am all the time. Sometimes if I have to, I'll turn it down a little. But once that goes full like that, I personally think I've gone too far. I don't want that bar full. You could run it all the way full. You could see that it's slightly getting a little chatter now that I turned it up to 30. Okay. Second I get down here, it's quiet. I'm going to put it back to 24 because that's where I like it, where it works good for me. Okay. Now, I'm going to go to our settings. I'm on channel 3 as far as noise cancellation. I'm not even going to do anything with that right now. Obviously, for EMI reasons or other machines around you, you're going to want to go through that noise cancellation process. Pick your coil up in the air. You can do it 3 ways. You can either have it just off the ground a little bit. If it's still too chattery, raise it up waist high or so. And if it's still too chattery, put the coil straight up in the air and try it again that way. Sometimes it makes a difference. Usually I leave mine right on the ground, actually, a lot of times, just as it sits here flat on the ground, and I noise cancel like that, and it works fine for me. Sometimes I lift it just a little bit off the ground. When I swing, I scrub the grass really good. You know, so in my eyes, I want to noise cancel where my coil is going to be. It just works good for me as well. Now we're going to go to recovery speed. I'm in 4. That's where I am most of the time. I will go down as low as 3 typically. Usually no lower than that for me. The lower you go, the deeper it's going to be. Of course, the slower it is. So you have a slower recovery speed with a lower number, but it's working slower, but it's also working deeper. You do not want to be in a low number in very high trashy areas, high iron areas, anything like that, okay? The higher number you have, the faster recovery speed you have. You're not going to get as much depth, but you're going to be able to separate targets in trashy areas and in high iron areas better. And you'll notice, listen to this. I'm in 4, where I usually run. If I just go like this, you get a little bit of chatter now, right? You turn that recovery speed up and you get a little bit of chatter. So if you run too high, keep in mind, you may get a little bit of chatter, okay? Doesn't mean there's anything wrong with your machine. It means it's just working really hard. So I like to keep mine in 4. As I mentioned, if I'm in a high iron, I'll go up about as high as 7 in a trashy home site that's full of a lot of iron. And I swing a little slower when I do that too. So, but when I'm in 4, 5, even 3, I swing pretty fast, okay? The Legend does like to be swung fast. Do not swing it really slow. Okay, if you go too slow, it just doesn't pick up on the target good, okay? That's what I find anyhow. Volume 6. I'm going to go here. I'm just going to show you my settings here. I'm in 4-tone. I want to show you this too real quick, actually. I'm skipping back because I skipped right over this. So you have your recovery speed here. So I mentioned I'm at 4, okay? You hit the check mark, it shows iron filter. I'm at 4 for iron filter. Okay, stability, I'm in 3. You can adjust that to your needs. This is where it's happy for me, okay? I never, ever have to touch this. I am in iron filter 4. I am in stability 3. Bottle cap 0. I don't do bottle cap projection. I guess if I was on beaches, I would probably do bottle cap projection. I don't do it. I'll dig bottle caps all day because I don't want to miss anything good. Although, I can tell you the bottle cap projection does work really well. where it still will pick up on coins and targets, but I just don't simply use it myself. Then ground suppression. I always have it on 0. This will help if you have highly mineralized soil and you're getting unwanted noise from the ground, and you want to turn it up. I would do small increments, put it on 1, try it. If it's not good, put it on 2, try it. And if it seems to get worse, go back down, put it to 0. Let's get back to this. So I'm on 4-tone. That's usually where I run most of the time, is 4-tone. And you can set your thresholds and everything else to your preference. Read your manual, see what that shows you. 6-tone's good too. I've used 6-tone. And 60-tone is quite a hoot. It's fun. You hear everything, okay? You hear everything. So if you want to use 60-tone, by all means, it actually works really well. And this machine works hard doing that. Threshold, I'm always on 0. Then I have the threshold setting here on 10. But I don't mess with that ever, okay? I'm at 0. I don't like threshold. I don't use it. It's just not for me. And basically everything else, you got your user profiles that you can save here. You got your light that you can change here. I put it on low. I don't need it much. Save battery. You vibrate. You have your LED light to shine on the coil. And then your Bluetooth, hours, stuff like that. So, but basically that is my settings. That's where I set it. This is where you do your noise cancellation. And it's going to find you the cleanest channel. You can also manually change that. Okay. So see, it went from, I think it was at 3 before, to 5. You can manually change that. Okay. All you do is have to hit the button and you could change it and try yourself and say, geez, I think it's, let me see, it's a little quieter here. I'm going to go with that. Okay. Get out of the menu. That's it. This is where we are. Now I'm just going to show you real quick with the settings that I have here. And there's a lot of nails, of course, in the ground. I got a little tiny button there, okay? I have my Bluetooth on my phone. You can hear all the iron, okay? If I go over that button, okay? Even with the iron, you hear it a lot better when you swing a little quicker, okay? I got a silver dime here. And there's a lot of iron there, so it's tough to tell. But if I was in an iron patch and I heard that, this is where I would do a walk around it and really tone in on it. I got a silver dime here. You can hear all the iron from the nails, right? Okay, you got to tone in on that. And I have a chronal bell here, okay? See, if I swing too fast, it's almost too much, right? Even with the iron, you hear that tone come through. You hear it a little bit, hear it a lot better that way, right? Because I'm probably not hitting hitting the nail. With all the nails, it's really tough in here. I'm going to shut it off because it's hard in here. I know it is. Okay, with all those nails that are in the floor here, from building the home and everything, all the iron, it's tough to pick up on these signals. But it's picking it up no problem at the same time. You have to listen to those tones, and you have to have a good swing. If you're swinging your machine like this out in the field, that's not how you should swing, okay? I'm just going to be flat out tell you, don't swing like that. You don't want to wiggle your coil when you're, going over something. You don't want to be picking up your coil. You want a nice, smooth swing. The Legend likes to be swung pretty fast, okay? So normally when I go out in the field swinging, this is probably the speed that I swing. And you could hear, and I go about a 3-foot span side to side, okay? I go from past each one of my shoulders about 3 feet, and I scan as much ground as I can, and I keep the coil as low as I can. And you'll hear a little blip sometimes, okay? And when you hear that little blip, hone in on it, okay? Walk around, hone in on it. Sometimes that tone really clears up. But there's my advice. Try these things. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it's helpful. Love to hear your feedback and let me know. I am trying to help, and hopefully this helps. So thank you for watching. Wicked happy hunting.